On this note, I'd like to now introduce our closing plenary speaker, Mr. Devdutt Pattanaik. Mr. Devdutt Pattanaik is an Indian mythologist, an author, and an illustrator. He writes on mythology, which he defines as cultural truths revealed through stories, symbols, and rituals. He lectures on the relevance of both Indian and Western myths in modern life. In the last 25 years, Mr. Pattanaik has authored and illustrated over 50 books, including Book of Ram and Dharmic Leadership. Known for his TED Talk and his TV shows such as Devlok and Business Sutra, he's a regular columnist for reputed newspapers like Times of India and Dainik Bhaskar. A medical doctor by training, Mr. Pattanaik spent 15 years working in the pharma and healthcare industry, but over the past decade, he has been fully immersed in exploring mythology and sharing its wisdom with the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a huge round of applause to a special guest, Mr. Devdutt Pattanaik.
Hello, good evening. I'll just set it up. So my name is Devdutt Pattanaik, and I write on mythology. Now, this is a subject that is not taught in schools and colleges. And the reason it is not taught in schools and colleges is because we still carry a colonial definition of this word. So in the 19th century, the world was ruled by empires. We had empires, and the king or the emperor decided what is true and what is false. That is how the world existed. So there is truth and falsehood. And in this world, this word mythology emerged, and it was packaged with falsehood. The problem is, science as a subject emerged. And science was put with truth, which left something called religion. And people said, where do I put religion? Do I put it in truth or falsehood? And that is where all hell broke loose. And even today, you will not find a mythology department anywhere in the world because mythology is associated with less sophisticated people in the colonial mind. But today we live in the 21st century. And we are asking that it is not about empires, we are about democracies. There are no kings. And so the question is, whose truth is the truth? Is the king's truth the truth? Is the people's truth the truth? Do men decide what is true? Do women decide what is true? Who decides what is true? Does science know everything? Does philosophy explain everything? So really, we are in a different world today. And therefore, the word mythology re-emerges. And I would like to give you a very simple way of explaining mythology to yourself and to the children. We don't use words like truth and falsehood. We use words like fact. So what is fact? Fact is everybody's truth. Based on measurement, based on evidence. Fact is everybody's truth. It's mathematical. Fiction is nobody's truth. It's imagination, it's fantasy. Harry Potter, WhatsApp University. Between fact and fiction is myth. Myth is somebody's truth. It is not everybody's truth. It is not nobody's truth. It is somebody's truth. Now it becomes interesting. Because the moment you say it is somebody's truth, the idea emerges as, do you respect other people's truth? Because you have a truth in your mind, but the person in front of you has a different truth in their mind. If you move the conversation away from fact and fiction, you will have a genuine conversation. But if you say the world is only about fact and fiction, you will always have an argument. Because my truth is the truth. My truth is the truth. My truth is the truth. Your truth is falsehood. But the moment you say, I have a truth, you also have a truth, let's have a conversation. I'm not here to convince you. I'm not here to sell an idea. I'm here to share my ideas and hopefully learn from your ideas so that at the end of the conversation, my truth has expanded and so has yours. And with every conversation, my truth expands. Now that's a very different way of looking at life. We have to move away from the binary of truth and falsehood, of fact and fiction. We have to move to the fluid zone of my truth, your truth, his truth, her truth, their truth. Everybody has a truth. It's our personal, subjective, cultural truth. God can never be a fact, but it is somebody's truth. Rebirth is not fact, it is somebody's truth. Justice is not fact, it is somebody's truth. Equality is not fact, it is somebody's truth. It's the truth of the people you engage with. So when you talk about respect and dignity, it means, do you respect another person's truth? Do you engage with it? Do you have a conversation with it? It may not make sense to you. Your truth is different from your husband's truth, your wife's truth, your father's truth, your mother's truth, your son's truth, your daughter's truth. All this rubbish that let's be on the same page. We will never be on the same page. Because my experience is my experience, your experience is your experience. This yearning that we should all think in one way is a dangerous trend. It reeks of insecurity. I want everyone to think like me. Everybody should agree with me. Everybody should align with me. That's a scary world that we are creating. And it happens in the smallest of places. It can happen not necessarily with politicians. It happens at homes, schools, colleges, friends groups, my way or the highway. But relationships are formed when we accept that we all look at the world differently. And that's the world of mythology. So mythology allows me to respect the many truths of the world. I'm not trying to find the truth because the truth is infinite. You see, when we talk of the word truth and falsehood, we always use it qualitatively. Shift and say quantitatively. If truth is infinite and my brain can only hold finite data, I will never have access to infinity. And therefore, with every conversation, I can keep expanding my truth, but I will never, ever in my lifetime reach infinity. I will know some things, I will believe some things, I will disagree with some things, but that's what life is about, and it will change. What you knew 10 years ago will change 10 years from now. It is always going to be fluid. When I see people with strong opinions, I immediately know I'm meeting a stupid person because he's not willing to grow. All our ideas change over time. New pieces of data, new pieces of information. They keep coming and ideas change. And the mythosphere in which we live keeps expanding. So every culture looks at the world differently. Today, we don't realize that you are conditioned to think in a very military fashion, because we still carry a colonial legacy. What was the world's first corporation? The world's first corporation was the East India Company. So a company based on shareholders was created 200, 300 years ago in order to plunder the world. They created the world's first corporate laws that we still follow today. These corporate laws can be traced to the Roman military. The Roman military controlled the Mediterranean region through soldiers. And therefore, we think life is a war that we have to fight to win. This is not everybody's truth. This is somebody's truth. When you keep describing life as a war, this is the worldview of a soldier. Not everybody's truth. It is somebody's truth. It is not false, but it is not everybody's truth. So nowadays, everything is a war. Exam is a war, so you have exam warriors. Health is a war, so you have COVID warriors. Marriage is a war, so you have marriage warriors. Counseling is a war, so you have counseling warriors. Who are you going to kill? Why this violent view of the world? So much insecurity. Why are you so terrified? Who is this predator chasing you? You are creating imaginary predators because it is our brain that is telling us the world is this great place where you have to win. And I say, why? I don't have to win. Who said I have to win? Who has to lose? What is this winning and losing? In nature, animals have to survive. Surviving is, we can call it winning. But let's think about a tiger chasing a deer. The deer wins. When the deer wins, what happens to the tiger? It starves. And its children starve. If the tiger wins, the deer dies and its children starve to death. In nature, there is only survival. You have to survive. You have to catch the prey in order to survive. You have to escape the predator in order to survive. When an animal sees another animal, it asks only 4 questions. Is that going to eat me? Can I eat it? Will it steal my food? Can we find food together? In other words, is that predator? Is that prey? Is that rival? Is that ally? 4 things. Your brain asks exactly the same question when you see a stranger in a conference room or in a plane or in a school. The moment you meet a stranger, you get terrified. And what we do mostly is we open our mobile phones and start looking at it in order to feel secure, because this is our best friend. It never says no to us. But the stranger is, could that be a predator? Will it attack me? Is that a prey? Can I attack them? Is it a rival? We are educating our children to look at every student around them as a rival. I grew up being told that everybody around you is trying to steal things from me. My mother was terrified if I said I have friends. She says, "Barbad kar denge. They will take you to parties and give you drugs and destroy your career. No friends. Friends are evil. Because you have to study and win. And so you win and you're lonely." Thanks, Mom. Because nobody told you that relationships are important in life because you have to win, win. And then they'll use these stupid lines like, it is lonely at the top. No, it is not lonely at the top. It is only lonely for stupid people. You don't have the decency and the courtesy to make friends and make yourself worthy of friendship. So we need to find a different way to look at the world. It doesn't have to be war. Don't train your children to be military soldiers. In Bollywood, in order to be a feminist, a woman has to hold a sword. And I'm like, why? So what is the alternative? And the answer is in food. And look at nature. And what I'm going to tell you is from the Indian scriptures. They said, what is the difference between a living organism and a non-living object? A living organism is hungry. Living organisms are hungry. So when you teach children physics and chemistry, you're actually teaching them about inanimate objects. But the moment you talk about animate organisms, you enter the world of biology, zoology, microbiology, botany. And in the world of biology, you talk about hunger, food. I want to eat. That is the meaning of, we don't use these words, we use words like metabolism, which no child understands. But they understand food, bhook lagti hai. I am hungry, I want food. Why does the tree have leaves? Because it is hungry. Why does the tree have roots? Because it is hungry. Why does the tiger hunt? Because it is hungry. Why does the bird fly? Because it is hungry. Why do you want to go to school? Because you are hungry. Why do you go hungry? Yes, because if you don't study, you will not get a job. If you don't get a job, you won't get a salary. If you don't get a salary, who is going to take you to coffee day for your date? It comes down to hunger, no? Humans are hungry, but our hunger is different. We are not just hungry for food. We are hungry for recognition, which is what Facebook figured out long ago. And it gave you a like button. So the whole purpose of life is to find followers. Why? Because I'm hungry for attention. Bhook hai, it's hunger. It's human hunger. Animals don't like attention. The only people who give them attention are predators. Humans love attention. We call it fame. Everybody is looking at me. Am I not so fabulous? Because I'm photograph. If nobody looks at me, my selfie will look at me. To kya hua? I have someone to look at me. They adore me. Am I not fabulous? And so, a Karan Johar movie, the woman talks to the reflection and says, am I not fabulous? No, you are not. You're silly. Because if you are going to eat, somebody wants to eat you. In nature, everything that eats is eaten. In Sanskrit, the word for this is, jo bhogi hai, wo bhog hai. And that fear exists within you. You know, every time you want to consume, somebody wants to consume you. And that is where all stress comes from. Because we want to consume without others consuming us. I want to eat, but I don't want to be eaten. I want to crush everybody in order to win, but I don't want to be crushed in the process of others winning. It doesn't work like that in life, unfortunately. The tiger will one day grow old and be eaten. The alpha has to die. Everybody will be eaten one day. So what's the option? So that is why we are fighting these wars. But every time you fight the war, you construct a world where you are the victim and you want to be the hero. But you forget, in someone else's truth, you are the villain. You think you are the Bambi deer running away from the predator. But in someone else's life, you are the predator. You are the tiger who is going to eat them. क्योंकि सास भी कभी बहू थी. Because all films are about revenge dramas. Like, what is revenge? Revenge is about hunger. I'm hungry. I want what was denied to me. Of course, we don't use the word revenge. We use the word justice. I'm right, you are wrong. I'm right, you are wrong. I have a right to do it. I will justify it. And therefore, I argue. But an alternate exists. And the alternate is, can you feed others? Because everybody is hungry. I can feed you, and hopefully you can feed me. I feed you, you feed me. And this is the story which explains this, that long ago, Brahma, the creator God, created all the living creatures and called them for a meal and served food in front of them. And just when they were about to eat the food, he laid down one condition. He said, you can eat food, but you cannot bend your elbow. How do you eat if you can't bend your elbow? So some children said, we will not eat at all. And Brahma said, you will become the rocks because you'll never be hungry. Rocks are never hungry. You'll be a rock. Then some children bent their head and licked the food from the plate. And Brahma said, you shall be the animals of the world who don't hold food. They just bend the head and eat food directly in the mouth. But some children got smart. They didn't have to bend the elbow, so they picked the food and they fed the person in front of them. I feed you, and they hoped the other will feed them. Everyone they feed is in their debt. And they want that debt to be repaid. I feed you, you feed me. This line comes from the Yajurveda. Dehi ma dadami te. Give me what I have given you. This is not give and take. This is give and receive. I have to give in order to get. This is not the language of warriors. This is the language of cooks, not master chef. Master chef is about war. It is about winning, screaming, fighting. It is not about collaboration. It is not about feeding. I feed you, you feed me. Life is not a battlefield. It can be a dining room where we feed each other lovely, tasty food from our kitchens. Battlefield is a toxic masculine vocabulary. It's time to let go of that patriarchy and move towards the kitchen, to the dining hall, to the home, to the hearth, where I feed you and you feed me. You nourish me, I nourish you. We nourish each other. Make sure there is less fat in it, because we want to maintain our figures so that you can enjoy my body. Because I want to consume you and you want to consume me. And when we consume each other with consent, there is joy. So Ranabhumi nahi, Rasoi Ghar. Not the battlefield, but the kitchen. And I want you to take this truth back to your schools, back to your lives, and just ask yourself, would you carry a sword that kills? Or would you rather have a ladle that serves? Thank you. We'll take maybe 3 questions. If somebody can moderate.
We'll take 3 questions for Devdutt. If anybody, yes, right at the back, the first hand and then the second hand there. Can we have your question first? Yes.
Hi. So first of all, thank you, sir, for definitely an inspiring and thought-provoking talk. Since most here is working with students.
I can't hear you, it's echoing.
Oops, again.
Yeah, maybe the sound doesn't go so well, but go ahead. You can keep going with your question.
The question is, how do we enable, like you said, the sword or the ladle for the kids when the environment they are in is just asking them to be lonely at the top? I mean, we can understand, but how do we help them to identify the difference and select one of them? Or can both of them exist for the students together and they can decide which one to pick when?
Okay, so the thing is, what I was really talking is economics. And economics is about give and exchange. You have to give in order to get, so in the market. So imagine you're constantly telling the child in everything, in order to get something, you have to give something. That's all you have to do. You have to change the negotiations. And so the child starts talking across, not just child, husband, wife. Don't begin with children. Begin with your parents. And let's figure out what's the negotiation happening. Because is it a trader mentality or a raider mentality? A raider is always taking. He's not giving. So now in your relationship, ask, who is giving, who is receiving? And each and every relationship. And work with the simple relationships. And find out, and suddenly the stories will emerge. Why should if someone studies and provides me better opportunities, why should you who don't provide me better opportunities get the same? It's all give and take, right? It's always continuous negotiation happening in the marketplace. So it's about, really what I'm talking is market economics, where you're constantly, but the focus here is not to get, but to give. That's the difference. The fundamental difference is, what do I give you? What do I give you? So if I'm talking to a child, I want you to do homework. So let's tell me, what should I give you so that you will do the homework? So I want homework to be completed. So tell me, what should I give you? And now that's a different way of looking at it, rather than saying, do your homework or else. So it's that conversation. It takes time to figure it out. Okay, tell me what should I do so that I get what I want. I want to have TV time. Okay. In order to earn it, what are you willing to do? Because my hunger is, you should do your homework. Your hunger is, you want to watch the TV. But let's not discuss those. So the conversation changes. We start looking at each other's hunger. Right?
The other question was right there, yes. And then we'll take one last one right after this.
Thank you, Mr. Pattanaik. This is Shweta from B Singular. My question is that the outset really that to
I can't hear.
Can
But
you
somebody
speak?
Maybe you speak, and then maybe I'll ask Ganesh to just repeat the question. So don't worry.
Yeah, go ahead and speak. I'll repeat. Speak into the mic. You can, yeah.
I was appreciating the fact that in today's day and age, you've taken us back 10,000 years ago, and kudos to bringing life to Hinduism, to spirituality. My question to you is that where does the truth lie between science and spirituality? What is your thoughts on
So
that?
science is based on measurement, but all truths are not measurable. For example, love. You are in love with someone. No scientist on earth can prove or disprove it. There is no app in this world that can take away jealousy. So all those smart billionaires of silicon, I will say that you are smart if you give me an app that reduces jealousy in this world. That they will never play the game where they know they can't control. So science focuses on physics, chemistry, biology. The moment it comes to psychology, it gets difficult. Because the human imagination is difficult to measure. Jealousy, hatred, anger, which makes life, which is the foundation of life. Jealousy, hatred, anger, pride, contempt. Those emotions, no science can explain. It is not part of the science curriculum. Because it is not measurable. Therefore, not controllable. So science is on measurement. It is very useful, extremely useful to create technology. But it cannot explain everything. It cannot explain why are people, 1% of the world controlling 99% of resources. Because you just by calling greed ambition, it doesn't change anything. Greed and ambition mean exactly the same thing. Greed is your truth, ambition is my truth. You can fool the world. I deal with these people and I just say, show me an app that reduces jealousy. They can't. Conversation over. Science doesn't solve everything. Technocrats, that's why technology has a limit. It can't go beyond that. You cannot, so that is the reason science is not everything. Unfortunately, people think they're very smart. They're not so smart. So we have to be very careful of when we talk about science. I really, really value science.
Yeah.
But show me one scientific tool that reduces jealousy. Yeah. Thank you.
Would you
Thank you.
agree that...
So may I-
We'll take another question. Just one last
Thank you.
question. Yes,
may
ma'am.
I? This is Mrs. Anandvalli from DAV Miapur. Good evening, Mr. Pattanaik. You were talking about the absolute truth and the relative truth and mythology as somebody's truth. In the truth continuum, where will mythology fit in? Will it leverage towards relative or towards absolute?
I didn't use the word absolute. I did not use the word relative. I don't know where you heard it. I never said it. But that's what happens in a classroom, right? Teachers
No,
say
you were
something.
talking about infinite.
Yeah,
Truth
infinite is not
infinite.
absolute.
Okay.
Infinite is a mathematical concept.
Yes.
Absolute and relative is a qualitative concept.
Okay.
So you see, that's why education is so difficult.
Yeah.
Because listening to other people's truth is very difficult. Our truth consumes us so much. Truth is a dangerous word. I'd never use it therefore. I say your truth, my truth. The moment you talk of infinity, Ananta Vasudeva, Ananta. Ananta means there is no end. It's infinity. So now that's a different way of looking at the world. It's not absolute, it's not relative. These are colonial words. I don't want to use those words. They're toxic. I want to use a different vocabulary. Change the vocabulary. And then you say that, I'll give you an example and I'll close with this. From a scientific point of view, we know that in order for us to have nourishment, we need carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. That's a scientific fact. And the data keeps changing. How much fat, how much, it will keep changing. There's a lot of work going on in that department. But broadly, we know carbohydrates, fats, proteins are required. But then comes in what form should it be served? As roti, or bread, pasta, or noodles? What is the right way? What is the truth? Europeans will have a different answer. Indians will have a different answer. The Chinese will have a different answer. Give me the absolute truth of how should carbohydrates be served to a child. And then tell me how should it be served, with chopsticks, with cutlery, or with fingers? What is the right way to eat? What is absolute, what is relative, or it's just other people's truth? Because what is fact is carbohydrates, fats, proteins. Noodles, pasta, bread, roti are cultural truths. Cutlery, chopsticks are cultural truths. Now take the kitchen, and in the kitchen, tell me what is the truth. In India, they will always say, how much salt should I put? And they will say, swadanusar, as per taste. But who decides the taste? The cook or the one who is eating? Whose taste is the taste? I don't want a master chef judge to tell me that my mother's sambar is not correct. Because that judgment day does not exist in most mythologies of the world. Judgment Day is a truth of a culture, which manifests as teachers, appraisals, report cards, Dance India Dance, Make India Great Again. But I know many mythologies where God is not a judge. God is an accountant. And I like God the accountant because he makes sure I pay my bills. Thank you.